What's up, guys? Today we're going to be looking at another phone here, the Pixel 7. So this is a phone I was interested. I have the 7 Pro and I wanted to try the smaller one. I do like smaller phones as well, and this is around 250 bucks. So let's go ahead and unbox this. So when you buy a used refurbished phone, this is, pretty much the experience. You will get like a generic box and all that stuff. So here are the charger, type C. So like I said, it's generic stuff, right? Now this one was, I believe, supposed to be in pretty good condition. Alright, here, so we got the all black version here, and yeah, mine looks actually almost brand new. Actually, I don't see any major scuffs or scratches. I do see like one light scratch on here. Yeah, but overall excellent condition here, like 9 out of 10, I think. No really major dings or anything like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and boot this up and talk about this phone. Oh, it's already on. So let's go ahead and set this up. Alright guys, so we're all set up and I want to go ahead and show you guys the price of this phone. So on eBay or Amazon, you will see it trending for around 200 to 250 bucks. And like I said, it really depends on, the condition. And this one is in, I believe this one was good condition. I didn't spend like a ton of money. I spent like a 200 bucks and we almost got a perfect looking phone, besides like maybe a light little scratch right there. But nearly perfect looking phone for the most part. And yeah, I would pick this up over the Pixel 7a because the 7a is also pretty similar in this price point, and the actual flagship is just better. They are extremely close, but this one is much better if you are just want the more premium experience. Alright, so the Pixel 7, let's talk about the hardware here. And I really like this phone because it's a lot smaller and it's a lot easier for me to hold personally than the Pixel 7 Pro. So I might start buying these like smaller flagship versions. But yeah, so it has a glass and metal design. It is IP68 dust and water resistant as well. We have the classic Google Pixel design. And the only thing with these Pixel phones is that you'll see a lot of dust get right there, so you'll constantly kind of be wiping it. It gets a lot of dust and stuff in that area right there. But besides that, I mean, the design is awesome on here. It's really premium, really nice, and really easy to hold. The screen on the Pixel 7 is also extremely good. It's an AMOLED display. It is 90 Hz, which is something that I noticed, but it is still smooth. It is HDR10 plus, and it gets up to 1400 nits peak brightness at 6.3 inches. It is a 1080p plus display at 416 for the PPI. It does have a little bit of bezel on here as well too. Kind of reminds me of like a mid-range phone. But besides that, the display experience is pretty nice. It's a completely flat display. Like I said, it's very bright outdoors, so I didn't have an issue taking pictures. Yeah, so I just had no issues overall with the display on here. And like I said, this one is actually not as small as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a 6.1 inch display, 6.2, but I think 6.3, it is like kind of like a sweet spot, I guess, these days for people who don't want something too big or too small. I think this is a really nice screen size for that. But yeah, so overall the display on here is fantastic. Like I said, have no issues with it. Very smooth. Even it being a 90 Hz panel, it still feels pretty smooth. Alright, so this phone, it is running the Google Tensor G2 chipset on here. You got stock Android. It is 128 gigs of internal storage, and then we have 8 gigs of RAM on board. And it's a pretty good phone for a game, and it does have a flagship chipset in it. So it is very fast. Now, is it going to be as like optimized as the Snapdragon phones? No, but you can still play, PUBG at HDR Extreme. You just don't have the 90 frames option on here. But as you can see, it's still very smooth, guys, and the game still plays and looks really great. So, people always say these Pixel phones aren't really good for gaming, but I think these phones do just as good of a job as the Snapdragon ones for the most part. And for me, I haven't had any like major kind of heating problems on this phone yet. Like with some other Snapdragon phones, I could just be setting the phone up and then it'll start to get warm. This one hasn't even really gotten warm at all, really. So I think the processor on here is pretty nice, and I'll show you guys the Geekbench scores here as well if you guys want to see those to compare. And boom, here are your Geekbench scores if you want to compare it to your own personal device, and you can see how that kind of ranges. Alright, so stock Android on here is also very fast. Everything is very smooth. Just expect a, very basic, experience. It's not going to be like One UI or, the MIUIs and stuff like that with a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's just basically the Google software. Everything is really centered around Google search and, Google services and stuff like that. You can see it's just Google apps. So everything is very basic, very clean. So it's something that I think a lot of people might like as well too. And also, guys, you're also going to get updates really fast on here, especially if you're into trying out like the beta software. These phones typically get them first. So that's going to be really nice as well too for you guys that are really into software and what Google's doing. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the cameras. The cameras are probably the most impressive thing about this phone. It is just a really, really good phone for camera. Like I said, these Pixel phones, this is probably one of the best phones you can buy for taking photos, and I'm talking about in any lighting condition. So this phone has a 50 megapixel standard. It has a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60, and then has a 10.8 megapixel ultra wide selfie that shoots in 4K 60 as well too. The photos are absolutely fantastic. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Pixel software and the image processing here. I mean, the low light shots are just awesome on here. It just does an excellent job. It does a really good job with skin tones as well too. If you're a darker complexion, you won't have that kind of like skin whitening thing that you get on some of the older Samsung phones and just a lot of the phones in general. They just never get the skin tones right for me. But this phone does a pretty good job at getting really close to the my skin tone, and also it just takes great shots. I mean, if you're thinking about buying a phone and you want a cheap phone with the best camera, you're easily gonna pick this phone up. Easy. It's just a beast. I mean, the phone is excellent when it comes to taking pictures. The software on here is also really good. The editor, I think, is pretty nice as well too. And yeah, I have just nothing but good things to say. The video quality, I think, is also pretty decent. I think Pixel, I like to film my YouTube shorts with the Pixel phones as well too. So I actually really like the video quality. But yeah, it still takes pretty good video for me personally. I do like it. Let's talk about the speaker quality on here, because this phone actually has some pretty impressive speakers. So the speakers actually have a really good amount of bass quality to it. The top speaker puts out a really good amount of sound, so that was something that I really appreciated. Overall, very good speakers. The optical fingerprint scanner on here, it does work. You can use face unlock as well too, which that works fine. I did notice like the fingerprint scanner is like crazy bright, especially when it's like nighttime. It's like super bright. But other than that, I don't really have any complaints about it. Now, battery life, from what I've seen, looking at other videos and stuff like that, battery life is pretty decent on this phone. You should be able to get a full day's battery life, no problem on here. It has a 4,355 milliamp hour battery, so a pretty decent sized battery for this size phone. And then also you do have 20 watt wired charging, and then this phone has 20 watt wireless, and then you also have reverse wireless charging on board too. So overall, the Pixel 7 is just a beast of a phone. Anybody wanting a stock Android experience, I think the chipset on here is plenty enough fast for the average person, or just anyone, honestly. Even if you're into phones and stuff like that, it's still pretty fast for the most part. Speakers are great. The cameras are pretty much the highlight of the phone. It really competes with even like the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the Samsung, Google, Xiaomi, whoever. This phone actually takes photos just as good as a $1,300-$1,500 phone. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys in the next one.